Talking about the food road. It comes right through the great side. Huh? That's the Japan or something? Africa? Yeah. Well, I think that's the great side of the building. Africa, still Africa. What? Africa. You want to crack? They never heard of Africa.
I like this. I like this.
Say all that shit, man. They kind of look like Alice Miles, right? No, they look like several but like that. The texture. Yeah, they look like quick roll. I'm gonna get you a diet when it's okay.
They look like something. Smell like
Hey, they good cake, so y'all be respectful around this cake, man, and y'all, I'm thankful y'all celebrate it. You see how good it feels to celebrate somebody? That's the same way we celebrate for them, we celebrate for ourselves. In a positive manner. Like, some days you gotta get out of bed, like, man, I'm gonna go give me some money. Like I'm going to your job. I go around with that. And some days you gotta celebrate your relationship. You gotta celebrate milestones in your life. You're used to winning. That's how you get used to winning. They go really good. You know what I'm saying? I know what you're saying. Oh, I got 10 days. Man, let me celebrate. I got 20 days. Let me celebrate. 25 days. Oh. Memorial is real. Oh. You will play this board. Memorial is real. Let's go. How you doing, man? Yes, ma'am. Taking it hard. Right, some of us are using more than that. They do anything. Oh, and then everybody one piece of cake. Be respectful of the next man, one piece of cake. Y'all heard that? Yeah, I know one thing. Heard that? Yes, sir. I still think you can have my piece of that, all right. Yeah, that's all right. That's all right. Yeah, that's all right. You got my. Nobody wants my piece. Hey, I told him what to do. He goes get you my six. No, crazy. Yes. Hey man, we always they got to make it out, right? Hey. I'll hey, y'all don't hey, look, try not to touch the cake, y'all. But you do what you could for him. Yeah, hey, this man takes not piece of cake. So just put the cake out right there. Let's say you want to know this. Take it good. I know. I so little. Hey, I'm so little. Hunger is something. Back here. I'll do it. I'll be all right. Everybody got a piece of cake, man. Let's be respectful. Bro, you want a piece of cake? I got one. Okay. What about you, Russ? No. I'll make sure they don't worry about it. Sure. Absolutely sure. I'd love to have some, you know. Nah, so I'm gonna try to get some for y'all. Mr. Lee, y'all agree that I might need y'all some diet ice cream.
All right, good morning, everybody. How's everybody doing?
Ready, man? Are you ready to go?
Yeah, we need to get some sign-in sheets going around.
I got you.
Thank you. Good morning. Good morning over there, ladies. Just some real quick housekeeping stuff. We need to get your sign-in sheets done over there because I will be coming to get them. But the group, I don't know how well it's going to work and all that kind of stuff because our internet is kind of going in and out. I suspect the weather for that. So if it goes, then it does, and we'll just have to. Y'all know when I'm not with you anymore over at North Point. So. Okay. That was Mr. Odell, for those of you who were wondering. So we're going to do this, and we may not go as long as we usually do because of the weather and stuff like that. I do want to alert you to the fact that the weather may get a little rambunctious later on this afternoon, but the buildings that we are in, they're very sturdy. These are pretty strong buildings. So don't panic. We'll be all right in here. If the weather does get really bad and start blowing really hard and blowing stuff around, then I'm going to ask that you move into the back areas and stay away from the windows and stuff because we don't want to be catching something that we're not supposed to catch. So just do that. Didn't bring my book out this morning. That's my bad. I apologize for that. But we do know that we are still on physical stuff this week. And like I said, everything is a little bit strange and truncated and all of that. But I'm going to, if you'll excuse me just for 2 seconds, I'm going to run back to my office because not only did I leave my book, I left my desk. And with the book, we might have about
That would be a better time. That would be a great time.
Yeah.
If I go there, say, then it'll go back over. Right?
Gotcha.
You can be on the internet.
Gotcha.
That's it. Are they in South? North?
We're in South here.
Hello, North.
No.
Yeah.
Chris is coming in.
Yeah. But
Look at that. Where is the
I don't see nobody on the.
They don't see you.
But see me. I want them to see.
breached confidentiality. So in trouble.
Oh, dang.
Yeah. When we go live, y'all don't, because that's breaching confidentiality. No one is supposed to know that you are. So, because it's a personal thing with you, and it's private, so it's confidential. So, do that. I know. It's no big deal. Nobody's gonna yell at you and all of that. But on the last thing, look, yesterday was taking action. At some point, we know we need to do something a little bit different, so we do something a little bit different. We take action. We go somewhere, do something, and talked about that 100 times. Just doing something is better than doing nothing. You've already begun taking steps to improve your physical health, but you've not yet practiced consistently or gained a state of maintenance. I was able to go work out yesterday. I was able to go work out the day before. And if the bottom has not completely dropped out by the time we get through and it's on my lunchtime, then I'm going to go and work out today. It's leg and tummy day. So I'm going to go do that if I have the opportunity. If it's, if we got tornadoes and hurricanes and earthquakes, ain't going. I'm going to wait in the back room hiding. You guys. So the last thing on that physical is maintenance, and that's what we're going to look at real quickly, because maintenance is where I keep it going. Anything that I do, if I do it once, that's a good thing, isn't it? It's good. If there's something that's good for me, then it's good for me. And if I do it just once, it's good for me to do it just that once. But if I'm going to maintain it and keep myself where I need to keep myself, then doing it just once is not enough. I need to do it on a regular basis. Does that mean that I have to do it every day? No, but I can. And it's going to be helpful if I do it every day. If I find something that I really like to do, like playing basketball or something like that, and on a day like today, that kind of knocks that out, doesn't it? You could, I suppose, but it might not be the best of ideas to go out and play basketball in the rain and all of that kind of stuff. But if we don't do it every day, then we need to do it at least how many times a week? 3 times a week. Thank you, Mr. Eads. At least 3 times a week, because the Surgeon General and the AMA have both said that if you don't exercise at least 3 times a week, bringing your heart rate up, it really doesn't affect your health to the level that it needs to do it. Of course, if you can only work out 1 day a week, it helps, and you should do it. But if you want it to really affect your health in the best of ways, then you need to do it on a regular basis, at least 3 times a week. So I'm going to go over today and do that. So maintenance says you are pleased with your physical health. You're at a place where you're okay where it is. Is anybody here okay where your physical health is? I am not okay where my physical health is. Sometimes. What again? Yeah, we all need a little bit more. Yeah, I believe, and I don't know where your physical health is, but and ladies, I don't know where your physical health is at this point in time. But most of us could use to get a little bit more physically healthy, and especially since we've done some damaging things to our body. With me and with you and a couple other people, alcohol. And alcohol has damaged me, right? And I do know that. Sugar, like you and me, sugar has damaged us pretty badly, and I know that. And so I'm in recovery from alcohol. I've been in recovery exactly half of my life. Exactly half of my life. So if you want to know how long I've been in recovery, you can subtract, you can divide my age, which is 72, in half, and you can figure out how long I've been in recovery. And brush up on your math skills. So you're pleased with your physical health and the ongoing efforts being made to maintain your physical health. I need to get to a place where I'm okay with what I'm doing. At this point in time, I will tell you I'm not okay with my physical health. There's a lot of things I want to change. I don't want to be a diabetic. I don't want to have, there's a few other things that I don't want that's going on in my life right now. But I feel pretty good about my exercise routine. I figured out yesterday I need to get it more organized. Because I go over and I say, okay, yesterday was bicep and back day. And so I worked my bicep and I worked my back yesterday. But when I got over that, I was trying to think, as I was going home, I was going back through what I had done, and it's kind of haphazard. And so what I need to do is get it to where it's more organized, and I know this day I'm doing this, and this day I'm doing that, and this day I'm doing this. And I'm going to do that. I used to have that back in the day. I had it all printed out, so I'm going to do that again, and it'll be a little bit better. Today, what we're going to look at really quickly, we're going to go over relapse prevention. So how does relapse prevention play into physical health? Anybody got an idea? Yes, sir.
You can work out whenever you
Well, that's a really good point. Mr. Rogelio said you need to work out whenever you feel like using. That's a good point. And I do that. But, because nowadays I don't really have, and this is a good thing for us to know. I've been in my recovery for many, many years, and I don't really have the cravings and the real deep desire that I used to have to use alcohol or drugs anymore. It's not like it used to be. There was a time when I would fight you when you said I couldn't use, right? But look, I'm at a place now where I know what that is, and I haven't been with that thing for a long time, and I don't have to do that dance anymore, right? It's not nearly as bad as it was. But I do still have that same thing with sugar. Sugar is deadly. It will kill you, and it's poison. And for a lot of us in America, there's a whole bunch of people who are at a place where we call pre-diabetic. And what does pre-diabetes mean? You're at risk. That's a good way to say it. I'm going to tell you this. My doctor told me not too long ago that most of the people who identify as pre-diabetic are diabetic. We just want to, and I did too, when they started telling me I had these issues, I went for years saying, well, I'm pre-diabetic because I did not want to get to that place. It's just like being old. People say, how old are you? I'm older. I want to say I'm old. How old are you when you become a senior citizen?
65.
65. Senior citizen. Somebody said 65. 55. Let's see.
65.
A senior citizen is typically defined as an older adult, generally age 65 or older, and often because they have retired from work. While 65 is the standard benchmark, definitions range from 55 to 70, depending on the context. I'm 72, so I don't want to feel like I'm a senior citizen because I'm working out. I feel good. I'm in better shape than a lot of people half my age. But when I go out to eat, when I go to any kind of place, to the place where I'm buying car parts or anything like that, then I say almost immediately I'm a senior citizen. Usually they give me 10% for being a vet. If I don't have my hat, they'll give me 10% for being a senior citizen. But they won't give you anything extra for being a senior citizen vet. It's just 10% across the board. So I'm going to take that. But the way, and like Mr. Rogelio said, working out, one of the ways that it will help us keep from relapsing. It will help me keep from relapsing on sugar too, because usually in the morning when I do relapse, and I did, I do relapse regularly. I did yesterday. I went and had an apple turnover. So, but I should have gone and I did work out, but not. I had that apple turnover earlier in the morning, so I should have done it then, and that might have helped with that. But it also helps in a whole lot of other ways. It gives me something to do. It makes me feel better about myself. And one of the reasons that we relapse, there's a bunch of reasons we relapse. One of them is low self-esteem. When I'm not feeling good about myself, a lot of the times I'm going to go do something to make myself feel better about myself. And if I use some of my drugs, suddenly my self-esteem goes up for a few minutes. Nothing matters. It doesn't matter what you think of me. But if I work out, then that's going to raise my self-esteem as well. If I do a good job, then that's going to raise my self-esteem. If I go to school and do well there, that's going to raise my self-esteem. So this is one more little place to help my self-esteem. We all have self-esteem. Some of our self-esteem is in the toilet, right? Some people walk around looking at that, how horrible, how bad, how terrible we are. This is why in my other facility that I own, we practice positive self-talk all the time. All the time. You do not come into my and tell me when I say, how you doing today? You can't tell me you feel bad. You can't tell me it's a bad day. You can't tell. You have to come up with a good thing to say about yourself and about today. I feel great. It's fantastic. I am a powerful, spiritual, confident man. I am a magnificent, beautiful, confident woman. You have to do that. And so, look, here's the deal. What we say to ourselves does something in your brain. You will convince your own brain that you are who you say you are. And if you want to go to the Bible says, as a man thinketh, so he is. So he is. As you think. So what you say out of your mouth is what's going to become your reality. So what we need to do is start saying what our reality is or what we want it to be. Right? And I've had so many people come to a facility, they got little anger issues and stuff, and they'll come tell me, and I tell them you have to do this, and they say, well, I'm not going to lie to myself. I'm not going to lie to everybody. This is who I am who I am, I ain't going to lie. It's not, you're not telling yourself a lie, you're telling yourself your own goal. And as you tell yourself your goal, it will become a reality in your life.
Neuroplasticity.
Say it again.
Neuroplasticity.
Yes. We just talked about neuroplasticity the other day, and it does. It rewires your brain. Your brain is wired from the things that people have told you as you were growing up. You'll never amount to anything. Why can't you be as good as your brother? Man, you're stupid. It's just math. Why can't you do that? What are you, dumb? Your whole life people do those kinds of things, never really meaning to do it, but we catch on to that, and we continue to tell ourselves that, and that becomes our reality. So if that's not the reality that I want, I need to look at the reality that I have, and I'd say, okay, this is what I want, make that my goal, and start talking myself into that, because my brain is plastic. And now plastic, it's not plastic. It's plasticity means it's movable, it's growing, it's doing something, okay? So neuroplasticity says my brain can change. I don't have to be what I don't want to be. So, if I go out of here, I'm not an addict. I'm cured. I'm well. I'm going to be okay. I'm not going to relapse. I'm going to be fine. I'm a good husband. I'm a good father. I'm a good mother.
See, I'm a firm believer in that.
Yes.
See, when we go to AA, they want you to stand up and say your name and say that I'm an addict. And I'm a firm believer that I'm not going to tell myself I'm an addict, because I'm not an addict.
Well, here's the deal.
I used to be an addict.
There are other places that you can go. It's not disruptive at all. Y'all keep running. Folks in our good.
But I had that AA guy 10 years to try to plant that seed in my mind that I'm not good at home. I told you, man, I'm good at home. I love my home. I love where I'm at. And he tried to tell me that since I smoke weed or use my marijuana products, that I wasn't happy at home.
Right.
And I told him not to plant that seed in my mind. I'm happy at home.
And here, that's a real good point. We don't want to have other people planting seeds in our mind. Here's something else. We don't want to be planting those seeds ourselves. I go to the store to buy my vegetables and stuff like that, but I can plant my own vegetables. My wife can't grow much of anything, but when she plants a garden, she can grow cucumbers and tomatoes. Like 1,000 million cucumbers. So many we can't eat, But I don't want that analogy is I can plant those same seeds in my mind. So if I'm going to plant a seed in my mind, which I'm going to do, every time I say something, it plants that seed in my mind. I want to plant a seed in my mind that's going to be positive and going to be good. Now, look, I'm a big proponent of AA, NA, all of those because they are self-help and they are free. And free is my favorite thing. I like free stuff, and it works. Does it work for everybody? No. AA, NA, all of that. It doesn't work for everybody, but it has worked for millions and millions and millions. So I'm okay with that. Myself, there are other places like Celebrate Recovery and stuff where they don't make you go around the room and say, "Hey, I'm an addict." In our Celebrate Recovery thing, we go around and say, "I have been delivered from that. So I'm delivered from all of that." So I need to be saying out of my mouth what it is that I want to be. Alcohol has no control over me. Alcohol has no control over me. I'm a good son. I'm a good father. I'm a good brother. I'm a good all that I am. Everything. I'm a good worker. I'm a good minister. I'm a good counselor. I tell myself all of those things all of the time. Now here's the deal. If you go around telling other people that, sometimes they may think you're a little bit egotistical or, a little bit nuts, but you don't have to do that. It's more important that you tell yourself that. When I get up in the morning and look at the mirror, I'm going to say, okay, man, you're good looking. Yeah, that's okay. I'm looking up there and I say, okay, you are a confident, powerful, spiritual being. You are. And look, I used to say it like that. I say it a little bit better. I am a confident, spiritual, powerful man. And if you're a female type person, you are a powerful, spiritual, beautiful woman. You need to be saying those things about yourself. I've had people in here tell me, well, I'm not all that smart. Man, they won't let me, but I want to use that, slapology on people like that. Yes, you are. You're brilliant. You can put two words together. You've gone to school. You've done all sorts of things. You can read. You can write. You can do some great, man. You have superpowers. And you're supposed to be saying, look, don't tell yourself you're dumb, and don't tell anybody else you're dumb, because you're not. Right? You're brilliant, and you need to be telling yourself you're smart. I'm going to tell you something. A smart person, a brilliant person, a highly intelligent person is not going to go out here and drink a quart of vodka and then get in the car and take a ride. Smart people don't do that. So if I'm a smart person, then I'm not going to do that. But if I do that, if I take that vodka, then I'm going to do that, because that's what I did when I used the vodka. I would take about half of it, and then I'd be in the car. I still do that stuff. I ride around, look at houses and all of this kind of stuff because I thoroughly enjoy that. But it's always sober. And that's the thing I tell myself now, man, I really enjoy being sober. I'm excited about being sober. People tell me, well, you know what, I relapsed because I got bored. I'm not bored. You go out there and you sit around and, oh, this is boring. So what happens? I have confessed that what I am doing is boring. Don't do that. Man, this is exciting. Watching this old movie is exciting. Being here with Evan is so exciting. I'm having a good time. That you need to be telling yourself those things. So we moved off of what we're doing. So relapse prevention. I just want to hit the highlights of this because we're gonna quit here after a while. But I guess we can go out on the back porch and have a cigarette or something when we take a break here. But I want to just hit the highlights of this, and then we'll go do that. The most important moment before relapse, and look, we all know this. We all know this. Before I relapse, before I bite off of that apple turnover, that's not the point. That's not the most important part of my relapse. That's not the big deal. The most important moment before relapse isn't that final decision to use the alcohol or the drug. It's when you decide to expose yourself to triggers. I go over to Market Basket every now and then, and I may do it today, and I buy myself a chicken breast. And, that's good for me. As a diabetic, it's deep fried in some kind of horrible, terrible, nasty, ugly stuff. But if you take the skin off, it's really good for you. Baked chicken or sometimes that's really good for you as a diabetic. So that's not the bad thing. But they got a chicken breast right here. What do you think is right here? Apple turnovers. Now, no, look. They've had apple turnover there forever. And I've always been able to say, I don't want that. I ain't eating that. I don't want that apple turnover. I don't like apple turnover. I ain't going to eat it. And now, you know what they did? And I know the devil led them to do this. Now they have put sugar coating on top of the apple turnover. Never saw that before in my life. So, here my mind went straight to that. And I said, well, I'm just going to try one.
Let's try one.
Just want to try one. So I bought one. The apple turnover is about that big. And the other thing is, if you go get a candy bar, or if you go get one of those little snack cakes, little Debbie snack cake, they're littler than they used to be, and they cost twice as much. They're like $2.80 for a little. For a little Debbie.
$2.08?
For a little Debbie. But those apple turnovers are only $1.75. So, everything in the world is telling me you got to have an apple turnover. So, I had one. I picked up that apple turnover. So, what I do when I walk over there to get myself a chicken breast, which is good for me, right next to the chicken breast is a trigger for me. And I'm sitting here and there's cakes and all kinds of stuff all around me. And then behind you, there's all sorts of cakes and all sorts of stuff all around you. I just want to eat it. And all of this stuff is screaming at you. So I'm exposing myself to those triggers. So when I make the decision to expose myself to a trigger, that's when the relapse begins. It's not when I use. When I use, okay, that's the end result of that trigger. Usually a lot of the time, if we're really fighting it, sometimes it can take weeks. Sometimes it takes months. But it began. If you go backwards in time, you go back to that place, way back down here, when you said, well, you know what, they told me I couldn't go see old people, places and things, but I went over to Bubba's house about a week ago, and you know what, it didn't bother me at all. Didn't bother me at all. It didn't bother me. It didn't bother me at all. And they lied, and counselors, they don't know what they're talking about. So we go back over and see Bubba, and we do that 4 or 5 times, and before you know it, we're using it again. Because we've exposed ourselves to that trigger. It says when we decide to expose ourselves to trigger, for example, a trigger could be going to a party or walking through the liquor section at the store. I have been sober half my life. I still don't walk through the liquor section at the store. But there's 2 reasons. It doesn't really trigger me like it used to, but there is the chance that it might trigger me, and I'm not going to give it the opportunity to even have a chance to trigger me. The other thing is that they keep that section of the store so stinking cold Yeah, I don't want to. I'm cold natured, so thank God for that. I don't walk through that section. I'm going to stay out of it because I'm not going to expose myself to that trigger. So you can walk through there before encountering your trigger. Here's the big deal: before I encounter my trigger, before I walk over there today and look at that apple turnover, I'm still in control. I still have most of the control. I can still say no. I'm in control because I have not exposed myself to a trigger. I have not exposed myself to something that makes me want to use. So, I don't have a big problem saying no because I haven't exposed myself to the sugar. I haven't exposed myself to the alcohol. I haven't exposed myself. I'm in pretty good shape. Whatever makes me want to use, I haven't exposed myself to it. So that tells me the big deal is I need to stay away from that. I need to not expose myself to that. If walking through that alcohol section at the store is going to cause me some problems, then I don't need to go there. My wife wanted me to meet her. She's in pretty bad health, and she wanted me to meet her at Sam's the other day for my lunch so that I can load up some water. She drinks 3 bottles a day, so we have to keep water at the house. So I went. They only had one a case of the water we drink, so I got her that. And as we're walking out, you have to pass by all of the wine. And she was looking for stuff that she needed, and I told her, I said, "You're aware of the fact that we're completely and totally out of wine?" Yeah, we've been completely and totally out of wine for many, many years. So it's a joke. But still, we were walking. Sometimes you can't help but walk right past it. And you have to be able to walk right past it. What's right past the wine if you go to Sam's? All the wine is right here. You walk right past that. What is it? No. Cookies and cakes and apple turnovers and all sorts of stuff right there past it. Yeah, so there's another trigger. Now that trigger triggers me more than the wine doesn't bother me at all. But when we get up there next to those pecan pies, I want 3 of them. Yeah, I'm a full grown man. I can eat 3 of them. Yeah. So if you're feeling the urge to use, here's one of the other things. A lot of the times we don't do it, but if we're feeling the urge to use, we need to try to wait it out. We need to understand this craving feels like it's going to last forever. This craving feels like it's never going to go away. But look, a craving lasts how long? About 8 minutes. At the most, your craving is going to last about 8 minutes. So, just let it hang it on. We talked about back months ago, we talked about surfing, the urge surfing. It's going to get up to a high place. It's going to be there for a few minutes and then it's going to be gone. So we don't have to use in order to remove the urge. The urge will go away in just a few minutes. So let that go. Wait it out. If you distract yourself for even 30 minutes, then it's going to likely that craving's going to lessen or even go away. But it's not going to last all that long. Focus on replacing your past drug use with some new positive activities. One of the things we need to get in our life is some positive activities. What's a positive activity we can put in our life that would help us? Fishing. Yeah, that's positive for everybody but the fish. Yeah. Okay. Fishing's a good thing. Go fishing. Or working out, playing the game you like to do, going to church, going to AA groups, going to celebrate recovery. Church, whatever. What was that? I missed it. So anyway, finding something that's positive, staying away from something that's negative. And the way that we look at negative is if it's going to possibly make me want to use. If it might make me want to use, then it's not positive. So I don't want to do that. If hanging out with the same old people, look, here's the deal. We talk about the universal relapse triggers all the time. And those are what? What's a universal relapse trigger? Old people, places, and things. The people we used to use with, that's a huge trigger. The places we used to use, huge trigger. Things we used to do while we were using, huge trigger. So we need to get that out of our lives. And I've had people tell me over the years, I've been doing this a long time, I've had people tell me, there's nothing that I can do to replace it. Yes, there is. You learned how to do that, go do something different. Go find something that's more positive. Go do something that's going to build you up instead of tear you down. If you use again, it could kill you. You know, relapse, we say all the time, relapse is a part of recovery, so that if you get out of here and you relapse, okay, don't don't get down on yourself, don't feel terrible about what happened. Come on back to treatment, let's go back through this thing again, let's work at it one more time, but even though it's part of it's not okay. Relapse is not okay by any stretch of the imagination, because two things can happen to us. A lot of the time when people go out, about 50% of the people come back and get some more help and get back out of it and do it again. Average about 3 or 4 relapses before we finally get into good quality recovery and we don't relapse again. But the other 50%, they either die in their addiction or they die. So dying in my addiction means for the rest of my life, I'm going to be on this stupid drug that's going to destroy everything in my life that it can put its hands on. Or I'm going to go wreck my car and kill myself. I'm going to die in some kind of wild overdose. Or I'm going to get cirrhosis of the liver, or my brain is going to shrink to the point that it can't think anymore and I'm going to die there. So relapse is not an option. It's not okay. If it happens, it happens. Okay, we're going to go take care of it. But when I leave out of here, I need to leave out of here with the thought in my mind that relapse is not an option. A lot of the times, what causes relapse? We talked about boredom, but one of the things that's huge that causes relapse is old relationships. But I love him. I love her. She my soulmate. No, she's not. No, she's not. She's your Jim Beam mate. She's your vodka mate. She's your methamphetamine mate. So how many people still have friends out there that are using? Yeah. How come? How come we got friends? How come we keep friends that are using? And I like what you said. You cut them all off. Yeah, that's great. But if we have friends that are using, there's only one reason we keep friends who are using. They got the stuff we need. There's still that connection. There's still that connection so that we can get back and use.
So I still have those friends, but I don't associate with them. But they were the ones that were there for me on vacation. Like, I'm not saying they're not friends. Hang on, let me talk. They were there for me in other ways, into my addiction.
Oh, I do understand.
You know what I'm saying? And those kind of people, there are some that I just cut off. I don't think about them. But there are certain few that I would call them and ask them how they're doing, stuff like that. Because whenever I had nothing, they were there to give me what I needed.
I have people when I was living under the house. I was living under Howard. Okay, I was in a bad place. I had folks who would come and we were using together, and they would get me out from under the house and they would feed me. And they would give me what I needed, which a lot of the time what I needed was marijuana. A lot of the time what I needed was alcohol, but they would help me with that and they would give me that. They would also give me food. They would give me a place to stay. Sometimes they were really good people who were there for me. Haven't spoken to those people in 36 years. And the reason for that is it doesn't matter how good they are. It doesn't matter how wonderful an individual they are. They're still a trigger. And their trigger, even just their voice, if I call them on the phone and I hear their voice, It is a trigger because it triggers my limbic system. And your limbic system, now y'all listen, we all have one, but your mesolimbic system is a lying piece of trash. And look, it's there to keep you alive, but it is a lying piece of trash. It will tell you that whatever we tell you about that, that's not true. You have to stay connected with, you can do what nobody else can do. You know, that may be true for everybody else in the world, but it's not true for you. And that is the one place that people down through the years have always pushed back on. You don't know, I have had a friend, and that friend told me, I will never use in front of you. I will never use in front of you. I love you, I want you, I know you're in recovery, and I will never use in front of you. Is that a good thing? Yes, it's a wonderful thing. It shows that they care for you. It shows that they love you. And it shows that they're willing to do something in their own life to help you stay in your recovery. It does not work because it's not that person using that is a trigger for you. It's that person. It's the person themselves. It's just being with them that is a trigger for you. So we just need to come to the place where we know that person is a trigger. Can you ever go back to having a relationship with that person? Depends on a lot of things. Depends on you. Depends on some period of time. I would say after 10, 15 years that you've been in your recovery, and if that person is in their recovery, if they've stopped using, then perhaps. But if you've been in your recovery for 2 years or 3 years and they're still using, no, can't go back to that. What's problematic is we get out of treatment and we'll go back to that person in 30 minutes. Sometimes those people are the people that pick us up when we get through with treatment. And they smell like marijuana or they smell like beer. They pick us up and say, okay, we're right back in the lifestyle before we even get a chance to go to the bathroom. So old people, places, and things is a reality. We always look for good excuses, bad behavior. It happens in everybody else's life, but it doesn't happen in mine. It's not true. All right. Get some positive things. If you used to go home after work and drink, you need to make a new plan to occupy yourself. Going home staring at the wall will eventually lead to staring at a wall with a drink in your hand. Not going to be able to do that. And here's one more thing we'll talk about, then we'll break. Don't try to do it by yourself. Mr. Odell was talking about a little bit earlier that some of the things that AA don't sit right. Well, AA is not for everybody. It's not for everybody, right? It has been a magnificent help to millions of people, and you need to give it a try. But it's not for everybody. I know some people who will not do AA, which won't. And that's okay because they found other ways. They're celebrating recovery. I know a therapist who meets with a group of people once a week, and she said she didn't believe in AA. I said, okay, so she has her own group of people who come. She got like 10 or 12 folks who show up and meet with her, and they talk about things, and they do. It's kind of like an AA group, but they don't have to do the AA thing.
I mean, I like the AA experience. Nothing wrong. It's just that one little part to where I gotta say that I'm that.
Yeah, and I have
I
an
don't
issue.
ever say that. I always say either I'm a covered addict or I just say, hey, I'm stopped.
Yeah, and I do understand that. And the premise behind that is we have to get honest with ourselves. And we do have to get honest with ourselves. I tell people I have a problem with alcohol. I've had a horrible. Alcohol took everything away from me. Marijuana took a whole bunch more away from me. So marijuana is the world's worst drug. Alcohol is the second worst drug. Both of them are trumped by nicotine. Nicotine kills more people than anything else in the world. And it's the easiest thing in the world. You throw the crap away 3 days later, you're feeling great, and your body's beginning to rebuild itself. So it's the easiest thing. So that is the worst drug that's still here. Then we've got marijuana, which is doing the same thing. Then we've got alcohol, which is doing the same thing. And look, I've had more than one person come tell me, well, I don't agree with that. Okay. You go ahead. Okay. I'm just going to tell you the truth, and you don't have to agree with it. So, you need to do something different. Don't try to do it alone. Sharing your goals for sobriety with a friend makes all the difference. They can hold you accountable when you're making questionable decisions. I'm just going to the bar to hang out. I won't drink. Can you do that? I am sure, there are outliers. I'm sure there's some people out there that can do that, but it's almost impossible. Especially if you're in your early recovery, you don't need to be in a bar. Just
always told us to keep hanging around the barbershop. Eventually, you're going to get a haircut.
You have to keep hanging around the barbershop. You're going to get a haircut. Keep hanging around the bank. You're going to make a withdrawal. If you go there, you will stay. I had a guy that I haven't seen him in months, but he was 3 years sober, and he was still going to the bars just to play pool. He kept a bottle of booze in his house, and he said, I keep it in there just to go look at it to show how much I hate it. And he said, what do you think about that? I said, you're an idiot. You don't have good sense at all. You will. You keep going to the bar. Right now, you're doing it, but you're what we call white knuckling it. You're going there, and all that booze is all around you. People are drunk all around you, and you're playing pool, to beat the band, and then you rush out of there, and you head home, and you go look at your bottle, and I hate you, and you put it back. You're doing the stupidest thing you can do. Throw the bottle away and quit going to the stinking bar, and you'll be all right. Finally managed to get him to come to church. He was coming to church on a weekly basis. He had his phone playing Candy Crush. So, he has no commitment anywhere. And it won't be long. I don't know how he's doing now. There's no way he's going to be able to continue that. And even if we don't go to AA, like I said, AA is not perfect. But if you don't go to AA, you still need to have sober people in your life. You need to have, if you don't have an AA sponsor, we need to have a bunch of sober support people in our life, people who don't use. I've had people tell me, well, I've got this person and that person in my life, and they only use a little. No, you have to have sober people in your life. If they're in recovery, that's even better, because they know what they're talking. They know what you're talking about. But if they're not in recovery themselves, or if they're using actively, you can't possibly think that person would be a good fit for you to have somebody to talk to. That's not who you need to talk to. I had a guy tell me one time, hey, I finally joined AA and I found myself a sponsor. I said, man, that's some good stuff. He said, yeah, my wife's going to be my sponsor. Can that happen? No. On 14 different levels, first off, you have to have the same sex person be your sponsor. And secondly, you can't have somebody that's kin to you or your best friend be your sponsor. Your sponsor is supposed to hold you accountable on a level that they never will be able to because they love you. My sponsor does not love me. I don't love my sponsor. No, he holds me accountable. And, sometimes we have to have somebody that's going to hold us accountable, and that's what your sponsor does. Now, sober support people, can they be family?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. Your wife should be one of those sober support people. Your husband should be one of those sober support people. But we need to have some of those so we can go and talk to people about all kind of crazy mess. So don't try to do this alone. Sharing your goals with a friend makes the difference. They can hold you accountable. Just going to the bar, they can offer a kind ear when you are struggling. Because, if you tell me, look, I've been in my recovery for a year now and I've never struggled once, so we need to talk. The first 3 months of my recovery, I would have killed you for a drink. first 6 months of my recovery, I was still looking. I knew where everything was. I drove around the liquor store, drove around it, the block, around it, around it, around it. And I'm looking at everything in the world, listening to the birds sing, looking at the trees, looking at the houses, there's the liquor store, yeah. There's the liquor store again. Yeah, trying to fool myself that, hey, I'm not riding around the block just to look at the liquor store. And, what ran through my mind was, I'm not going to drink. I'm done. I'm done with that. And I'm strong enough to know I don't need that anymore. But I wonder what they have in there that's new. I wonder if they have any Three Sisters bourbon. Y'all ever heard of Three Sisters bourbon? I wonder if they have. Because I used a lot of Three Sisters bourbon when I was in Europe, and hey, that's some smooth drink right there. So I wonder, not that I ever would, but I wonder if they have. Yeah, and that stuff I didn't go, but it was a hard thing not to go. Do I still pass by liquor stores? Yeah. On my way home, I know of at least 2 of them. On my way home that I pass by. I know where they are. They don't have any power over me at all. They have no authority over me. But even after this long in my life, I know where they are. I know what's in there. And my limbic system is still, yeah, sure do, Bubba. Know what's in there. Good. I wanted something the other. I wanted some orange juice because my sugar was a little bit low, and I wanted some orange juice. Passed by the liquor store, and guess what my limbic system told me? They've got orange juice in there because they do sell vodka. And how do people drink vodka a lot of the time? Screwdrivers, yeah. And so my limbic system told me as I'm passing by the liquor store, it said they have orange juice in there in those little bottles. Yeah. Say it again.
They're gonna hit you in the head with the price of that.
Oh yeah, yeah. The orange juice is probably $20.
So you should have told yourself to stay away from it.
That's one of the points. Yeah, I put it. I looked at it and said, yeah, I know it, and I kept going. I don't need that. I don't need their orange juice. I need some orange juice, but Market Basket has orange juice. I never did get the orange juice. I know you were wondering and concerned, but I never did get the orange juice that day. I went on home. When I got home, I have a little glucose thing. It's a little thing like that full of tablets, a little container full of tablets. You pop one out. It's got 4 grams of sugar, 4 grams of carbohydrates in it. And when your sugar's way low, you pop one, and it'll bring your sugar back up. So it's probably not as good for you as orange juice would be, but orange juice will bring it up. That's how they first figured out that's what I had. I was in the hospital. They thought I was having a heart attack, and a little nurse came by and said, you need some orange juice. Okay, she brought me a thing of orange juice. I drank about half of it. All my symptoms went away. And, the doctor was going, huh. And she said, the dude's got diabetes, man. So anyway, let's take us a break. It's a little bit early. We'll get back about 15 after. And we'll start this thing back up.
You know,
I've been up on that. I think this by that wrong. What I need to do?
huh?
Is this by that wrong?
Good night. So, what is that? Now, let's take this out.
Nick, get your. I'll see you Sunday. Yeah. Yeah. You good, man? Steve. Good. And, hey, brother. Sir. Yeah, I already know.
Oh, baby, you got what I need. Say she's just, say she's just, oh, baby.
Batman. Pinky, Blinky, Pinky, and Clyde. How you got that last one? Where's Batman was? So when you eat the dots, man, that's when you want to eat them. That's when you get your point. You ate the dots already. Yeah, you want them to chase you down and then eat the dots. Yeah, that remote don't work too great, so it's going to be hard. Eat that motherfucker. Go eat that motherfucker. See, and every time you get it's 200, 400, 600, 1200. Go eat that dot. Now, go after their ass. 200, 400. Don't look at me.
I can read it right now. I want to take 5.
Yeah, that's what I do. I wait till they call me. I can get high school like that.
No. Come here. Come here.
One life less.
I know.
Yeah, I think once you get to 10,000, you get another life.
Yeah, man, no more pussy money, huh? He's great Batman on the top, man. You're gonna take more money. Hurry up, get out of us. Damn.
This is different.
Oh,
See, normally you're not faster than the ghost.
get out. Get out.
But,
Get out.
okay, down.
Get out, my boy. Get out. Get out. Get out. Get out, my boy. Get out. 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 Get out.
Burn.
Get out. Oh, damn.
You got one life left, I think.
So, better. Okay, what you doing, man? Where's you from?
I'll say.
Yes, sir. Yes. Wait.
Nah, go ahead and take it down. I'll play it.
You got
There you go. Go up. So now, get children. Most of the time, the fruits are trash. See what I got here. 7,000. Oh man, man, I know. I got it. They got me stuck. It starts back on here. Yeah, because I'm supposed to revive. Sorry, we'll play that next. Okay. How long is 2 minutes? Fucked up, I'm in to go. I don't like using this remote. I'm just using this. Let's do the same kind of pattern.
Gentlemen, we did about
Whatever the term
Because you already argued, you came back out. Yes. Oh, I ain't gonna ask him.
Oh God.
all right. Well, let me tell you that not everybody's back, but let me share this with you. Is everybody signed in on the sign-in sheets?
Yeah.
No, there's only the one, but you'll have them over there. Okay. Just making sure everybody's signed in because yesterday, as I was doing the notes, I discovered that there were several people here in the group that I knew because I'd seen them in the group and they hadn't signed in. So do make sure that your name is on there. So, because sometimes, I will put your name on if I know you're in here, but sometimes I don't know that. And I'll not be able to do it and then you'll miss out. I don't want that to happen because you're required to have a certain amount of groups and certain amount of types of groups and stuff so that you can get your treatment paid for. So we want that to happen. Right? So, because it's Friday, and because it's raining, and because you guys have been so participatory and all of that stuff, we're going to go kind of quickly this second part of it. What I'm going to do, because I do know that most of you guys have already heard it, you know it. I'm going to go over the things that we have to go over, and then we'll probably be closing up pretty quickly. Is that all right with everybody? No, you want your money's worth, but we'll try to get the information out so that you can get it. And if anybody really wants part of the documentation, if you want one of these things, it's fairly simple. Just let me know, and I will make you a copy so that you can have it, and then you can research it a little bit more. Same thing goes for you ladies. If you want it when I come over to get the sign-in sheets today, just let me know you want that documentation, and I'll get it for you. But I'm going to go over this fairly quickly, so y'all need to listen quickly. Right? So don't try to do it alone. We talked about that. Go to groups, and here's the thing that I learned when I was in the military and again out of prison. If it doesn't apply, let it fly. Get what you can get out of it that applies to you. Get that part. The part that doesn't apply to you, let it go to other people who it does apply to. There's a lot of stuff. When I go to my meeting, there's some stuff that happens in there that just does not apply to me. And I know it doesn't apply to me. So I just let that go. And we can do that too with all of those groups and receive what is good for me and what's going to be helpful for me, and then let everybody else get what they need. So don't try to do it alone. Remind yourself, and we've already talked about it a little bit, but let's just to hit it a little bit. Remind yourself, just keep talking to yourself. We need to be doing positive self-talk, and one positive thing that we can say to ourselves is that these cravings will pass. They will end. Just remind yourself that cravings will pass. We had that experience where we're sick, where you can't remember what it feels like not to be sick. Diabetes is kind of like that. I remember when, they figured out I had diabetes. As soon as they figured it out, gave me the orange juice, I felt 1,000 times better. But then, that's been 30 years ago, and I have to keep looking at it. When it's low, I know it's low. When it's high, I know it's high. I don't remember what it's like to be able to eat a piece of cake or something you guys just did and not have an issue. It's not a problem. That is. Sometimes we don't remember how it feels not to be craving the alcohol or not to be craving the. So we need to hold on, and it's going to come back to us. So remind yourself this in your positive self-talk. Just remind yourself this isn't a forever thing. This is not going to last forever. It's going to go away. You'll have to look. This is one of the hard things about this thing. I had to give up a lot to get into my recovery, and I've had to give up a lot, and I'm still giving up stuff to stay in my recovery. You'll have to make sacrifices. Just remember, we're going to have to make sacrifices beyond just giving up the drug. giving up the drug, giving up the alcohol, and alcohol, by the way, is a drug, but giving up the drug is the first step. There's more things for me to start looking at that I have to give up. What do I have to give up? And when I became, when they first told me, hey, you're diabetic, they said, here's what's going to happen. Okay, you can lose your feet. That's good. But you could lose, you could go blind. I said, well, that's pretty crappy. They said, you could have a stroke, you could have a heart disease, you could have an aneurysm, you could just die.
Coma.
Yeah, say it again.
A coma.
A coma, you could go into and I do know a fella that worked with us. He didn't come to work. And he was an older guy. He didn't come to work. And so we figured, sometimes he was like me, about my age at that time, just about 20 years ago. And he just didn't feel well. He just wouldn't come to work, And so, okay. And he had a small caseload out of prison with us. And then after about 3 or 4 days, I think it was 4 days. It was longer than that. It might have been a week. They finally decided to go check on him, and his daughter went to check on him, and he went into a diabetic coma and was laying in one spot that whole week. And when they got him to the hospital, this whole side of him was paralyzed and everything because it hadn't moved. It was caught under his body for that long a time. And so that was his swan song. He came back to work for about 10 minutes and it was over with for him. So, they're telling me all of that stuff and I'm saying, crap. I said, well, I'm just going to die. He said, no. We're going to put you on some medication that's going to help you. Right now, I take a handful of medication at night before I go to bed. In the morning, before I come over here, I take a handful of medication. And I take a shot. Here in a few minutes, I'm going to have lunch, have chicken breast. But I'm also going to shoot myself with fast-acting insulin again. So, you have to give up some of that freedom. And then you have to give up so much stuff. You have to give up bread. You have to give up potatoes. You have to give up pasta. You have to give up sugar. You have to give up... so there are some things when I found out I had that disease that I had to give up, right? Heroin, or nasty, ugly. Well, when I found out I had the disease of alcoholism, an addiction, there were some things I had to give up. And so, again, same stinking stuff.
If you eat something sweet, does it make you sick?
It doesn't. Yeah, you can feel it. If I eat something sweet, it's got a bunch of sugar on it, it takes about 10 minutes maybe, and I can feel my sugar going up. And if it goes down, like if it gets below 80, man, you feel like you're going to die. That's really bad. If it goes up, then you feel really super lethargic, and you feel like you got to take a nap, but what you really need to do is do some exercise and stuff that'll help get that stuff out of your system. But yeah, it's a lot.
You answered my question.
I did. Yeah, good idea. So here's the deal. There are some sacrifices beyond just giving up the drug. If you previously used during specific activities, what is that? Old things. Old things. If you use your specific activities, for example, like watching a game on TV, going to concerts, or spending time with friends, what is that? Old people. You have to make some changes. This means not watching the game, maybe, or making some new friends, maybe. I've had people tell me, there's no way on earth I could ever make any new friends. These are the only people who will put up with me, the only people who... Look, there's 3 billion people on the earth. Got to be somebody else out there who can stand. Right? Got it. So, making new friends who are sober. Somebody said something.
Getting rid of the ones that are.
Getting rid of the ones that are not sober. We have to have sober friends. And here's what the guys here say, and I've said this 1,000 times, and I know it to be true. This can be really hard. It can be really, really hard. But that's what makes it a sacrifice. It's a sacrifice. And so I have to look and ask myself the question, what am I willing to sacrifice for my recovery? I'm going to tell you something. I really like being sober. I love being sober. Y'all know what I did last night? Anybody know what I did last night?
Sleep.
I did go to sleep. But here's the deal. You don't know what I did last night. I do. I know exactly what I did. I went home. My wife had a nice little meal for me. Had my nice little meal. I went, sat on we have a little love seat type of thing. She sits over here. I sit there, and there's a little thing between us, and it would go up and down. So I picked my feet up a little bit. She had turned on the television, watching television on sleep. I took a nap on the love seat, and then after a while, got up and went to bed. Brushed my teeth and all the things you need to do and went to bed. The significance of that, back when I was in my addiction, I couldn't have told you what I did last night. I know what I did last night. That's important to me. It's important to me. I remember the times when I got home and I would walk around and look at my truck to see if it had been wrecked, see if there was any blood on it, see if I had killed somebody. You know. So it's important to me to know what I did yesterday. It's important for me to know what I did last night. It's important for me to know that I have a plan for today that does not include alcohol or drugs. That's important. So, I had to make sacrifices to be at that place. I don't know if you know. You suffer from the same thing I suffer from. But you may know the perverted pleasure there is in using my drug. When I used my drug knowing full well that my drug was killing me, it was wonderful. It was fabulous. It made my life complete. It was fantastic. So I had to come up with something that took the place of something like that. Now my God has done a lot of that, and that's a fantastic thing. At the same time, my sobriety has taken a lot of that, because at this point in time, I am more enamored with being conscious and knowing what I'm doing than I am with putting a chemical in my body that's going to take me out. So we have to give up some stuff. So we also have to have a plan when things go bad. Because you remember what was my plan back in the day when things went bad. Get a little something. Didn't take much, half a pint, and stuff's not bad anymore. So I can't pay the rent. It doesn't matter. So there's no food in the house. It don't matter. So all of my kids and all of this stuff are doing without stuff that they need in school. That doesn't matter, because nothing does. Because my addiction got me where it needed to be. At some point, we are going to have some bad things happen to us. Now I need a plan, because I don't have the coping skill that I used to have. So people get fired, right? Anybody ever been fired? I've been fired and not know it. Wake up, the next day you're at the house, and say, "Oh, man, I'm late for work." "Oh, no, you're not, sweetheart." You don't have to worry about that. So, okay. People get fired, hearts get broken. Sometimes people leave us forever. People die. People do stuff like that. They sent my brother-in-law home to die. He has terminal cancer, so he's done. So we need to develop a plan to get through those major life challenges. There's things that's going to happen, and I'm not going to be able to use my mood-altering, life-changing drug again. So I got to have something else. So in place of that, I have a higher power. In place of that, I have other people that I can talk to. In place of that, I have things that I can do. So we need to have a way to get through that without the use of drugs before they happen. So don't become complacent with your sobriety. If you someday consider having just a glass of wine with dinner, you need to know that's not for us anymore. Have a glass of Coke instead. Don't make the decisions lightly. You struggled with addiction in the past, you are much more likely to develop again. It's going to happen. Don't want to do it. I've known people that had 30 years and they blew it. So don't become complacent. If you do relapse, we talked about this a bunch. If you do relapse, don't give up. 50% of people give up and just stay in their lifestyle or die. Come back. You know, most of you know that we've had people come back. Why do they come back?
They don't pay attention to the universal.
They don't pay attention to the universal triggers. That's why they relapse. They come back because they're smart, because they're brilliant, because they know I got to get back to where I can get back, right? And get straight, and get right, and get back. So don't give up. A lot of people find it helpful to keep track of how long they've been sober. I do. Everybody does. December the 13th. My sober date. December the 13th. I'm going to figure out which year. Know which year? Half of my life I've been sober. 72. Half of my life I've been sober.
86. 26.
26. Look, the guy said 1926.
1986.
Say it again? You know, what's half of 72?
You should have just took that, Doc. That dropped it down in 10 years.
Yeah. So, a lot of people find it helpful to keep track, but don't confuse the count with the true goal of leading a good life. It's not just about staying sober, it's getting into recovery. Sobriety is staying sober. Everybody's been in their sobriety for a minute. If you don't drink, you're sober. Living a lifestyle means that lifestyle change. Here's the deal. This is why we say get away from people, places, and things. Because you have to get into a new lifestyle. What do you mean?
I took my favorite shot yesterday. Increased my doses.
Okay. Okay. Yes, I know we're all that stuff. But you're going to have to figure out how to come to group. What we do here. Oh, well.
I'm up now.
Okay. But group started at 9 o'clock, so you got to figure out how to do it.
He told me I can know.
Okay. Okay.
I got that information.
Okay. That's fine. That is fine. People don't think about the count as being recovery. Recovery is a different lifestyle. You can't go back to the old lifestyle and stay in recovery. Right? You can't go back to the old lifestyle. You can't stay in the bars. You can't stay with the old people. You can't stay doing the old things you used to do and be in recovery. You can't do that. You have to have a new lifestyle of recovery. It's different. I'm not doing that. I can't stay sober and stay in the same old lifestyle. I have to change it. Sometimes we'll make up a mistake. We'll make a mistake and go back. So, okay, we go back to day one. Know that you are not starting over completely. You're starting your count over if that happens. But you've gained knowledge, experience, confidence. Slipping up is not a license to go on a binge. I do that. With the sugar stuff, if I slip up and I'm in here, these ladies, they're so nice. The counselors, Miss Caitlin, those people, they're so nice. They're good people. and they've got all kind of candy and stuff. Like they brought a cake today that I couldn't have any of. They've got if you go to Miss Caitlin's office, she's always got candy, some kind of really good candy. Yeah, you know. And I tell myself, Seth, you can have one of those, and Seth always agrees, and so I'll get one. And I'll go somewhere and I'll eat one. The other day she had those little kisses in it. So I got one, okay? And before it was over with, before the day was over with, I tried to empty her bowl of candy. And, you know, so, you know, that's the way you go to bed. You have one, then you go, I'm going to have one beer, and then you have 30. You know, so that's the way that goes. So we don't want to do that. So, and here's the deal. This is really, really, really important. This last thing we're going to look at. But really important for us to come up with new rituals. We come up with rituals. We do the same thing the same way every day. And we've talked about that a dozen times. But
5 kisses.
Say it again.
You can have 5 kisses if your sugar.
You can have 5 kisses.
Yeah, if your sugar's low enough.
Yeah, I can see you don't understand. Because I can't have 5 kisses.
That's
You
what
know
that
why?
says.
I don't care what that says. You know what? You're not supposed to have any sugar. So
I
you
keep telling this
stay
dude
off
that
sugar.
he don't listen.
That's
Stay
not
off
what my
sugar.
dietary.
But look, here's the issue. We're addicted to it, so we're always looking for good excuses for bad behavior. These people over here said I could do it, so I'm going to. Just because they say you can doesn't mean you should. Stay off as much sugar as you can. Because one endocrinologist that I went to years ago, I asked him, can I have a little bit of sugar, a little bit of candy, a little bit of this? He said, why would you want to put sugar in on top of honey? Your body is full of sugar. It's got too much sugar in it. Why would you want to put more sugar in a body that has too much sugar in it? So, anyway, don't do it. Don't do it. Come up with new rituals. How you celebrate holidays, promotions, any other happy occasion. If your answer includes any type of drug, you'll want to get creative, figure out something new, go wild with a hobby for the day, treat yourself to a nice dinner, take a weekend trip, make sure it's something you can get excited about. So, look here, the thing that we're talking about is relapse prevention. If we're really serious about it, we don't want to relapse. I pray about it every day. I don't want to use ever again. I don't want to use sugar ever again. I pray about it every day. Sugar is more addictive than is the alcohol. So sugar I'm still having an issue with. You know, alcohol not so much, but the sugar I am. So I still pray about that, but I still fell on that a lot. So, questions, comments, or snide remarks?
Yeah, I'm diabetic also. I took myself off the insulin. My doctor in the treatment with it because my sugar was staying too low. I couldn't take the insulin when it gets low, so I took myself off. And I kept the med on. Sometimes even now, my sugar gets so low, I feel bad. I got to eat some sweet.
The fact that your sugar is low does not mean that you don't have diabetes. And so if your sugar getting low like that, you should, and I would go do it in conjunction with my endocrinologist. I don't want to be shooting myself up every day, 2 times a day. I don't want to be doing that. So my plan is anything that I can get myself off of, I'm going to. I'm going to take myself off of it. However, I'm not going to take myself off of it without talking to my doctor. I took myself off of lisinopril because lisinopril is for blood pressure and I don't need that. But they were giving it to me to help protect your kidneys because metformin messes with your kidneys. But then they found out 2 or 3 years ago that it's not really protecting your kidneys, so there's no reason to take it. But I talked with my doctor about that, and they said, yeah, but, I don't see, if your sugar is way low, I don't see any reason to take insulin because that's going to bring your sugar down even lower, and then you're going to have to take something to get it up. And I have that issue happen with me sometimes, because at the last, I take a shot before I have my supper, the meal, and my wife will feed me something like tilapia and all the good vegetables that I'm supposed to eat and all of that stuff, which won't raise your sugar up. And so my sugar gets way too low. And the time I'm ready to go to bed, it's down there around 70, and I'm doing this, and I have to take something to get it to come up. So I would talk to my endocrinologist, but I would be looking to get that out of the system. So, any other things? Yes, sir.
Is fruit a good substitution?
Fruit is great, and we're supposed to, as diabetics, be eating fruit, but we need to understand that fruit has sugar in it, and it will raise your sugar levels up. But because it's a natural sugar, it'll fall a lot quicker, and so it won't hold that sugar up all that long. So it is better to eat fruit than it is to eat candy, because candy crappy. Not supposed to eat it. So, anything else? Anything about relapse prevention? Okay. Yes, stay focused. And that's a good point. Stay focused. What's the goal? Staying sober. That's the goal. What's going to keep us from reaching the goal? People, places, and things. Stay focused. All right, gentlemen, thank you. You did well today. I appreciate it. If it gets real bad today, remember to go back to the back, get away from these windows.